What we're demonstrating here is the use of a trike implement along with pot forks to be moving all of our plant material around. We can pick plants up and space them into straight lined rows, and or we'll pick them up off of a trailer, possibly after we've potted them, and then be sitting them down in blocks. This process seems extremely simple, but it has a very complex history to where we started from to get to this point. Originally, when we started down the road of doing this, we bought a set of pot forks thinking, okay, well, here we're going to go. Well, unfortunately, the steps that we had to take to actually get to that point were years in the making. Originally, the first problem we had to overcome was the pots we purchased weren't correct. We were using a blow molded pot versus a press form pot. We didn't even have the trike at that time, but the forks we had were actually needed the lip on the pot to be able to pick them up off the trailers and to be able to sit them back down. So we had to work our way through to get to having a press form pot. After we had the press form pot, then we went, well, how are we going to get them off the trailers and onto the ground and up off the ground and back onto trailers? We demoed a couple of different things. We tried just your general forklifts. We tried bobcats. We tried other implements. But the problem of it all is anytime you have the four-wheel system, every time you would be turning in a short, narrow radius, you were tearing up gravel. So we ended up buying a trike. The design of the trike, as you can see, it has three wheels that are all evenly spaced and they're very flat. So as they roll across the ground, they actually flatten out the ground as you go and the gravel as you go. And also in the process, their front wheels are your drive wheels. So the back wheel is just basically a swivel and pivot wheel. So you can actually turn it basically on a dime, actually less than a dime because it can turn back onto itself and doesn't rut anything up because you don't have the back wheels fighting the front wheels. So it allows you to be able to pick up in a very narrow space. We're using it out here in the wide open, but we also use it inside of our houses. We use it inside of our greenhouses and everywhere. So that was the second problem. The third problem we had is every time we were moving plants around the nursery on trailers, our potting machine's not right next to wherever we're putting them. The pots themselves would get jostled out of alignment so that the forks wouldn't actually go into the trailer or in between the pots. So we ended up designing a grid system that we put inside of our trailers. So we do this for a 1 gallon, a 2 gallon, a 3 gallon, and a 7 gallon so that we can actually be able to pick them up, put them back down onto the trailers and move them around the nursery and not have them lose alignment. So other things that we realize, if you have PVC pipe or aluminum pipe, then you can't drive over the top of it. So we use oval tube. It's a NetFM oval tube that allows us to drive right over the top of it to get from one place to the other place and back without doing any damage on it. Some of this oval tube we've had for 7 or 8 years, and it's as good as the day we bought it. We were worried about having it breaking down, but it holds up extremely well. It's about these efficiencies that allow our trike and our pot moving to be able to really work in synergy within our nursery. Our trailer, which ended up being kind of the determining factor of our nursery, is 4 foot wide by 12 foot long. So basically 12 foot wide ended up becoming the parameters of our nursery. So our bays are either 12 foot wide or 24 foot wide because it's either 1 bay for the trike or 2 bays for the trike width. You know, once the plants are in the spring when everything is lined out, the efficiencies of being able to walk between the rows without the plants being zigzagged is increased because we can basically go and fertilize an entire block in a third the time we could if everything was zigzagged and people are stepping over the top of pots. You know, then we just very quickly go through and zigzag. It's about also making it just very simple because the person who's zigzagging is just standing up, walking along, and it's not a heavy, strenuous job, but it can be done very quickly with a good-sized crew. Every pot you see was sat down with the trike or spaced with the trike. We went from having 4 people as our sit-down crew to basically less than a person because the person who is the sit-down crew also hauls the trailers back and forth, and depending on how far we are from the potting barn, he could also be the guy in the barn knocking out plants. We've actually started implementing other areas with our pot fork system where we're actually loading 1 gallon trailers and we'll load semis with our pot forks. We'll drive that thing right in there rather than backing trailers in and out. We'll have a set of forks that just pick up 1 gallons and we'll load a trailer or a semi load of 1 gallons out of here with it. It wasn't my idea, or it wasn't Brian's idea. It was the loading crew who goes, hey, why can't we use the forks and save us 3 people loading this truck? We're like, okay, let's do it. It builds upon itself once you have the employees wanting to use the implements to make their lives easier as well. So this is a very simple process, but it's a very complex amount of time it's taken us to get here.
Thank you for watching this video and learning how labor, efficiency, automation, and production, or LEAP, helps ornamental plant producers achieve greater sustainability. This video series was made possible by the incredible amount of time invested researching and gathering information by Decker's Nursery. Their efforts to determine how new technologies will improve their systems, coupled with their tremendous generosity to share that work with other producers beginning this process, is an inspiration to leap the green industry forward sustainably. We are very grateful to them for this opportunity. This work is supported by the Specialty Crops Research Initiative Award Number 2020-51181-32137 from the USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture for the planning grant Labor, Efficiency, Automation, and Production, or LEAP, for sustainability in nursery crops. Any opinions, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this publication are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the view of the U.S. Department of Agriculture.